Hello, Nation. Welcome to another episode of the School Transportation Nation podcast. I am your host today, Taylor Ekbatani, Senior Editor. Your normal voices that you hear on the podcast, Ryan and Tony, are out running and keeping things smooth here at STN EXPO. We're on site, so they are moderating sessions. So we are stuck with me today, but that is all right. We are going to get things rolling. This episode is brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing, and by School Radio, your source for reliable radio communications. Before we get to our guest for today, we have a quick message from our sponsor.
Do you remember a time when you could just cherry pick the best solution to run your school transportation operation? The best routing software may be one company. The best parent app could be another company. Those days are over. TransFinder said the old way of doing business doesn't work for today's busy and burdened school transportation departments. They need one partner, one solution. TransFinder has embraced this approach for years now, building award-winning solutions like Route Finder Plus, the driver app Wayfinder, parent app Stop Finder, and inventory management solution Service Finder. They also have field trip management solutions, Trip Finder, and Viewfinder, which provide critical routing information to other stakeholders in the district. Add to this TransFinder's award-winning hardware and industry's best support and service. You have the ingredients that make up one partner, one solution. It's not just a slogan. It's TransFinder's way of doing business. Learn more by emailing getplus@transfinder.com or calling 800-373-3609. That's 800-373-3609. Remember, one partner, one solution.
All right, so we are on site at STN EXPO Indy right now, and I am here with Kristi Hartzel. She is a school bus driver, trainer, and dispatcher with Campbell County Schools in Kentucky, and we just wrapped up a session that she was sitting on, so I'm super excited to dive into this conversation, but welcome to the podcast, Kristi.
Thank you for having me. It's been a neat experience so far.
Yeah, and you were actually one of our rising stars last year. So with being a rising star, you get free main conference attendance to one of our conferences for the following year, and you chose Indy.
Yes, it is nice and close to home. Just maybe a 2-hour drive, not too far.
Yeah, so being recognized as a rising star, I want to dive into that a little bit. You kind of mentioned that you've been in pupil transportation for 16 years. What's kind of been your career like? What started you, in the industry?
Well, I actually had a good friend. I was looking for a job. I became a single mother kind of very quickly. Needed something to get insurance for my kids, but didn't want to change their life a whole lot. So she had driven the bus for a long time. She drove over 25 years on her own. So I started up with her doing some training through a neighboring district because they were hiring full-time. They needed drivers a little bit quicker than Campbell County did. So I started there, drove there a couple of years, then transferred over to Campbell County where I was born and raised. Drove there for the next, 10 years, and then was at a point in my life where the kids were getting older, college was starting up. I knew a little bit more funds were going to be needed, so I became a dispatcher, more hours through the summer. Then with that, I became a driver trainer and been doing that for the last, dispatching for the last 6 years.
Okay, awesome. So when you got recognized to be a rising star, were you shocked? I mean, it's not, you don't get into people transportation thinking, oh, I'm going to get recognized for something.
Yeah, I was very honored. One of the ladies who is a driver trainer who was actually helped train me in Kenton County is now in also Campbell County. She has been a mentor to me. She's taught me a lot. If you need to know something, Paula is the person to go to. Between her and our director, Carrie Hill, they both nominated me. I've learned a lot from both of them. And it was kind of neat. We just started a new routing program. I kind of took the wheel on that, and got that up and going for our district.
Yeah. And Rising Star nominations are open right now. So Kristi is living, breathing proof that you can be nominated and come to one of our conferences. You get free main conference attendance. So super great. I know we're kind of just starting here with Indy as we're recording this podcast, but has anything stood out to you so far? Any, thing from a session that you're like, oh, I'm really going to take this in?
Yeah, it's been neat to see so far just the different exhibitors who are here doing things, the new cameras. I would love to take all that back. The Zonar, just to take stuff back to the district that might benefit us for our safety. Dick Fisher, he is someone I had a Zoom meeting with him over our session last week, and I was very looking forward to listening to him, getting to meet him in person. He's a joy to listen to. You're definitely going to go away learning something from him or hearing about a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's wonderful, and we'll dive into that. I think you're referring to the Best Technology Summit Labs, which we had yesterday. This was our first time actually doing them in person. We had them virtually, so it was really cool that attendees got that hands-on feel, were able to get those demos of the camera equipment or the different technology options. So that was definitely different for us, but cool for attendees to get to experience as well.
Definitely. And I can't wait to see some of the products, tomorrow at the exhibit, just seeing even more products. It's very neat. Anytime you can get the opportunity to see some of the new technology and new things that maybe not technology, but new safety straps that might be beneficial to our district, I get excited about.
Mm-hmm. So definitely nominate a rising star in your school district. The form is open right now. You can go to stnonline.com/go/RS. So RS as in rising star. But yeah, go fill it out. We're cycling through those, and you guys could have someone here at the conference. So speaking of Dick Fisher, you just jumped off the stage with him. You were talking on a session on creating a safer school bus stop, and you kind of touched on, training drivers. Can you kind of give us a little synopsis of that session?
Yeah, we went over, different safety things and some of the accidents that have happened throughout our country with bus safety, and maybe ways that they could have been prevented, or how it starts with our driver trainers and making sure that our drivers are ready and prepared for everyday situations that they may come across.
I know something that really stood out to me was his mention on policy and documenting. And you're also on that session with Mike LaRocco. He is the Department of Education State Director for here in Indiana. But, really hammering in on creating that policy that teaches that driver, okay, this is what we're going to go off of, and having them acknowledge it so that if they do something, that's bad, for lack of a better term, I can't think right now, but you have grounds to terminate them or to take further action because there's a written policy.
Yes, that was something I learned. If you feel there's something in your heart that needs to be put in place, get it in place. Don't wait until that bad thing happens. Learning that policy can be added to. Don't wait. Just get it done. We all procrastinate, or we wait and say, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe that's not the best thing to do, but don't wait. With Mike being there and him talking about the Rochester accident, which was very big in the news, especially around this part of the country. And you think, that one thing you were waiting to do or maybe wanted to do, go back and get it done. Get it done.
I know Dick talked a lot about, and I'm going to put you on the spot being a driver trainer, but we're in a driver shortage right now. And so our driver trainers may be feeling pressured or maybe encouraged to pass more people coming through, the applicant pool.
Yeah. I wish we could, the big thing is I catch myself saying at work is, I need the body. I I need the body. And maybe that's something, I say it, but truly, you know, we are being cautious. We want to be cautious. Not everyone, they might be able to do the vehicle, control the vehicle, handle the vehicle, but you have to find the right people who can control the vehicle and also know that you have the children behind you. You're going to deal with every day 72 children on your bus and have to deal with that while you're driving the vehicle. So not everyone is made to be a bus driver, cut out to be the bus driver. They might be able to operate the vehicle, but not with the students on it.
Right. How do you kind of navigate that? Is there something you look for in an applicant, or, you know, is there a tick that maybe they give off that maybe they won't handle that student behavior? Because also as mentioned during the session, you know, student behavior is one of the leading causes for the driver shortage.
One of the first questions that's asked in one of our interviews by our director is he'll start off and he will ask, do you like children? What is your experience with children? Those are one of our first questions that he asks. And we listen to their experiences that they might have with children. Even if they don't have their own children, they may have worked with children, maybe at their church, maybe if just family members. But we want to know that they can build those relationships and they know what they're coming into when they are becoming a school bus driver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super important. So looking at the training aspect of new drivers, you know, can you kind of just give like a brief rundown on what you guys do? I know there was a lot of talk about the different state regulations, federal regulations, but what's important to your school district that you want to make sure you hammer in on school bus drivers when you're going through that training?
Well, our district, we go by what the state guidelines are for their training. The 21 hours of class time, I know every state is different. There's so many hours behind the wheel, but getting them to each school to see how the procedure is of loading and unloading, meeting the staff, just learning our routine, you know, in our district, maybe getting to work with different trainers. Everyone has something a little different they like to teach, or something that they might be more experienced with. So not just working with one trainer, but getting to see different things and hearing different things. And if one of them has a conflicting little thing, they can get together. Those trainers will learn from that. You know, it's us learning still too every day about something that we may not catch, or different things like that from each other.
Yeah. And I think it was you that talked about it, is the student behavior portion of it. You actually sit with different representatives from each school district and kind of talk about, okay, what is, you know, how do we do referrals? Or if there's this issue, you know, you kind of work through that with the different school buildings.
Yes, that is something we're working on this summer, is trying to, with our administrations in the different schools, maybe something across the board in the districts that is a set thing for each behavior. I know with the state, they're starting with vaping is very big right now with students, and we're catching a lot in the videos. They are going to start finding the children, the students, the parents. It's something that's going to be a state thing, and hopefully get that under control so it stays out of our schools as much as we can get it out of the schools.
And then also you get support from the building if there's student behavior, because that was one of the big topics as well, was talking about getting, you know, drivers feeling like they have support. Like if they write up this kid, that something is going to come out of it.
Yes, we need support from the administrators. It gets very frustrating, and Campbell County does a great job. I love our administration. It does get a little frustrating when you hear students are getting behavior for something they might do in the classroom, but a little bit lenient on the school bus. That bus is a continuation of their day, or the very beginning of their day. The rules need to be the same as if they're in the classroom or on the bus. Obviously, our drivers need to realize, too, that these kids, this is where they get to talk to their friends, you know, on that bus ride. This is where they make friends. This is where they might meet their very first friend for school, you know, starting out as a kindergarten. Let them be a little bit of a kid, as long as they're following the rules and keeping it safe. Let them talk. I didn't ride a bus growing up. We didn't have buses where I went to school. And I kind of wish we did. Now that, I've been in this industry for so long, it's fun. It's fun to, it's kind of nice that I got to drive my own kids, because I got to meet a lot of their friends that way. So let them be kids, but let them follow the rules.
Yeah. And you were a school bus driver, so you know that building those relationships with the students is so important to their behavior.
Absolutely. As much as we want them to respect us, we need to respect them. You don't know what and I know you hear this a lot, you don't know what you're dropping them off to. You don't know what you just picked them up from. You don't know that if someone's even in that house when you just drove up and picked them up, or if they've been gone for 2 days. You build those relationships, get to know your kids. It's so rewarding in the end. It is. When you walk into a restaurant, I walked into a restaurant one day and somebody said, Kristi? And I was like, looked at him. I was like, okay. Hi, yeah, it's Kristi. And they're like, you don't remember me, do you? And I was like, no, you look, I'm not sure. And he's told me his name. And I was like, oh my goodness, yes. And, he ended up buying my meal that day. And it was just an old student who drove my bus. And he was just like so thankful to introduce me to his wife and daughter. And those are the things. It's a very rewarding job.
Yeah.
Things like that.
That's awesome. That's such a special story.
Yeah. It's fun. It's kind of with my husband driving a bus, we have that thing about who's the better bus driver. So now that I'm not a bus driver, he
gets the title.
I'm the sub. He gets the title, and I get to hear all the kids say, "Oh, Mr. Rick, he's the bus driver." Or the parents say it to me. I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, But back when I was a driver, no, just kidding. I love it. I love the rewards of being a bus driver.
Yeah, but you said you still sub drive.
I do still sub drive, yes.
Yeah, something that stood out to me is you said that you would rather take the keys and drive the bus yourself than to give the keys to someone who you feel is not suited for the job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I feel that they're not feeling well enough or they're just not in the right spot, I'd rather go do it. I'd rather go do it. Our director would rather go do it. One of our mechanics would rather go do it. We'll find a way to get them filled. We've been very lucky that we have not had to cancel any routes in our district through all this. I know a lot of districts have. We have a great staff, a great team. I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of the team we have in Campbell County. And I just wish people would realize what a rewarding job, especially like retired people. I know it's a great, great job. You can't, with the benefits and the time off, and it's so worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. Is there anything, technology-wise that has made driving or your job as a driver trainer easier? Anything you guys have or anything you want? I have different opinions about the technology. There's some aspects I would love to have of it. There's some the safety concerns to me with some of the technology. It kind of concerns me. I would love to know each kid that comes on that bus was swiping the cards, but then I worry about cards falling, getting under a bus, a kid crawling under a bus and a driver not seeing it. I have so many pros and cons on technology that I just mixed feelings about it. Yeah. Do you guys have anything right now technology-wise on your buses?
No, the only thing we really have is just the radios, nothing yet. I would love to see. With our new routing system, we are getting stuff where we can notify the parents. As long as they're on the app, that kind of thing is great. It all goes through the dispatchers. The drivers don't have to get on their phones and put that report in there. The drivers aren't fooling with a tablet, which I think they're great. I would love to see the GPSs, and I would love to see somehow that the driver knows who's on the bus and who gets off that bus. I would love to see it something more like almost, I know this is...
Just throw it out there.
Okay.
Let's see if the vendors can do it.
So I'm a big Disney fan, the whole Magic Band, the whole, when you're on a ride, the photo pass, when I'm on a ride at Disney and I go down a ride and you come off and they know I'm on that ride without scanning something. Like, I'd love to see something like that. Like if it was something in their backpack that just when they walk by, it registered them on that bus instead of them having to scan a card or the driver having to push a button. Something that doesn't slow down your process of a kid looking for their card as they're getting on the bus, or just something that recognize that kid, you picked that kid up and then that kid stepped off the bus. I love the tablets. I would love to be able to get those in Campbell County, the GPS, all that stuff for the drivers. I think it'd make driving as a sub-driver, because I drive a lot of different routes, it would make such a big difference with having sub-drivers.
Yeah, that's huge. And you spoke your wants into existence. So I'm hoping someone is listening and can make that a reality for you.
Yeah, I think hands-free, I'm big on when my students are getting on and off the bus, hands-free. I don't want phones in their hands. I know a lot of them have lunch bags, but we want them to hold the railing. We want them to have hands-free. What if they go stumbling? If their hands aren't free, it's going to take them longer to catch themselves. Keep the hands free. If they're worrying about different things in their hands, that school project, whatever. I like hands-free going up and down the steps when they're loading and unloading. Then we don't have things falling under the bus and a kid's maybe crawling under a bus and the driver didn't see them go under that bus and the driver thinks they're on their porch. So I'm very big on the hands-free. And if some company out there could do that where, that I know they have those, I want to say Apple tags now, something like that where it registers that kid coming on and off the bus. Mm-hmm. Great idea. I think it'd be a great idea.
Without them having to physically scan it.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or because, I know a few years back, it was a big thing about not having things hanging from your backpack that can get caught or around your neck. Because even if it's on the lanyard, it can get caught on a handrail. It can get caught on anything. Then they're going to fall down the steps. So keep the hands free. And I'm very big on the hands-free loading and unloading.
Mm-hmm. My husband was just walking down the stairs and he was holding my water bottle and he tripped and my water bottle ended up flying and now there's a huge dent in it. But, being that hands-free, he had to drop something to grab the railing.
Correct, yes.
So I could see how that could be really important.
Yeah. It comes to, if they come on the bus with their backpack zipped up and you keep those backpacks zipped, they're not going to be able to get the things they shouldn't be getting out of their backpack, losing them or misplacing them or another student taking them. You just keep it all in there. You have that card, you have to put it back in your backpack. You have to do it. Just keep your hands free.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kristi, for jumping on. Is there any last thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
No, if anybody out there is considering maybe being a bus driver, do it. It's so beneficial. You can make a huge difference in a child's life and build those relationships with them. There's nothing better than learning about a child. They're going to teach you as much as you're going to teach them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you again so much for jumping on the podcast, and thanks for being here in Indy with us. We still have a couple more days, but really looking forward to the sessions that are upcoming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Kristi, for joining us on the podcast. Before we move on to our next guest, here is a quick message from our sponsor.
Hey guys, are reliable radio communications in your school buses important to you? The laws against using cell phones while operating commercial vehicles are in place for the safety and security of both your drivers and your students. Taking that risk comes with a hefty fine, penalties, and even disqualification of the driver's CDL. School radio specializes in providing wide area, push-to-talk, two-way radio solutions for schools and school transportation that are fully compliant with all hands-free operation laws. They offer a managed service program that includes the device, all services, all maintenance at a fixed monthly budget point. No expensive infrastructure or FCC license is required. Get a demo today by visiting school-radio.com. That's school-radio.com.
So while I was on site here in Indiana, I was able to catch up with one of our friends, Zach McKinney. He's the Director of Transportation for Hamilton Southeastern Schools in Fisher, Indiana, and is also the president of STAI, School Transportation Association of Indiana. So I went on site and visited him at his district, caught up with him a little bit. There's going to be an article coming out here shortly, but I wanted to play a little bit for you guys on that conversation. We discuss more of the statewide adoption of electric vehicles and propane, low, zero emissions, what that kind of looks like in the state, as well as how staff shortages are affecting Indiana. So we'll go ahead and play a portion of that interview now. Because you're president of STAI.
Yeah.
So from a statewide perspective, what are you seeing in terms of like electric or low emissions?
You know what? I think as a state, I'm very pleased. Our directors, we have phenomenal folks working in this state, and I'm partial. But yeah, Indiana's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
I think as I go to conferences and I network with my colleagues here in the state, or I go to meetings around the state and talking to them, they're all progressive. They all are looking for something to benefit their community. And I think what's good, though, about it, and with all these different variances out there, is you can pick what best fits your community. Just because propane and gas doesn't work for us here in Fishers doesn't mean it doesn't work for my neighbors within my county or just outside of my county, or northern part of the state or southern part of the state. I think that's what's so great is you're going to find, and our directors are, like I said, are all forward thinking in that regard. They know what's going to fit their community the best, and they're going to go for it. There are some that, South Bend schools, obviously down Monroe County, they went all in with EV for a while. So there's districts that are going that route. I know a lot of my good colleague of mine over in Lawrence, I know he has really doubted. He loves propane, and he's gone that direction for many, many years. Districts he's been with as a mechanic, they go propane, and they've had great success. Tippecanoe County, up at Tippecanoe School Corporation, they have a lot of propane, and they have good success with that. And so I think it just really depends on your community and what best situates yourself to be successful. But again, our directors and our bus drivers, our mechanics, we have great folks working in the state of Indiana with people transportation. I couldn't be more humbled and proud of them, for sure.
Yeah. Looking at the driver shortage too, this is statewide. How's that looking?
It's again, you find a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one day a few weeks back, we had 48 drivers out. Here.
Oh, wow.
Alone. So but I think what's great is I sent out a message to my staff and I said, hey, listen, I know you got a lot on your plate already, but if you have time and you can help, I would love to help today. This is what we're facing. And I think with that transparency, they see what's going on and they just want to be asked. They want to be acknowledged the fact that they're skilled at what they do.
Yeah.
And so I was inundated with, hey, I can do this, or I can split this, or we covered every single route that day.
Wow.
And no issues. And so, we had to do a couple run backs where the kids in an elementary maybe had to wait 20 minutes. We went back and got them and took them home.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, no one was missed. Everybody was safe. Everybody got home. Not one route was canceled, and we made it through.
Wow.
And so I look at it, and I would say that that's kind of the approach of the directors that I network with. They just know it's got to get done. And so, driver shortage is a thing, and we can talk about it at conferences, and we can have panels on it, and nobody has that magic cure. Like what we're doing this afternoon, I don't think that's, my colleagues have done it. Carvel did it not too long ago. I don't know that that's the cure, but we have to try something, right? Yeah. And even if I get one or two, fantastic. But I think that the hand you're dealt, and you bring the people up around you, and you make them help. I think in my opinion, what helps here is everybody's on all hands on deck. Like on those particular days, especially my admin assistant, she's phenomenal on the radio. She's got that. I know I can leave here and everything is in good hands. But my mechanics drive, my routing office drives, all of my office staff drive. I go drive. Wow. My assistant goes and drives. Everybody is out there. And I think too, though, that then the drivers see that. And it builds that camaraderie and that respect among all of us that we're all in this together. So it's a lot of fun. But as far as driver shortage, it kind of, I don't know what else we can do.
Right.
I mean, you can we raise payroll, the next district does, right? So it's just, you continue to play this ladder step. And I think eventually people just have to be encouraged to come to work. Mm-hmm. And the workforce, we know people are out there looking for jobs, but I don't know what they're looking for. They're not looking for us, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't know what specifically they're looking for, but there's opportunities out there, and that's when we did the news coverage yesterday and this morning. You don't have to drive here, drive anywhere.
Right.
Go to your community, see if it works. Drive your kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've talked to parents at our booster clubs, like, hey, I need field trip drivers. You're going to your kid's event. I'll pay you to drive. Then you get in for free because you're a bus driver. Like, how great is that? Yeah. And so I haven't had any returns on that yet. But I do. I have some that just do field trips for me, but they're not parents. They're just a little bit extra income, and we need the help, and they do it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you guys again. Thanks so much for listening. I want to leave you with some thoughts from our attendees.
Billy Hewish, Transportation Supervisor, Farmington Municipal Schools in New Mexico. STN Indy is fun. This is also my second time to be out here at Indy. Fun place, great trade show, a lot of new ideas that are coming out, and again, just meeting people and seeing the new vendors. A lot of new vendors coming out offering great products for the buses, whether it be new lights to add on to your bus or putting Wi-Fi on your bus, or if you're even looking at electric. It's all great out here to see and learn. Of course, I'm looking forward to Reno coming up and moving out to Charlotte next year.
Derek Bryant, ASE. A lot of the green bus technologies that are out there, and seeing what is new and developing in the industry at this point in time. I was really impressed with Green Power's offering that they have, and the openness that a lot of people here are willing to share what they've learned in making their fleets more green, and whether it's electrification, propane, or if it's even just experiences they've had with infrastructure getting to that point.
Jim Ellis, Director of Pupil Transportation, Henrico Public Schools in Henrico, Virginia. One of the things that stood out to me the most is I was just awarded the EPA grant for 10 EV buses, and I've really had to dig in the Go Green initiatives that you are offering to help me determine which path, or give me the options at least, on the path I need to take to accomplish putting EV buses into service for Henrico County.
My name is George Davis. I'm with Fayette County Schools, Fayetteville, Georgia, and this is my second time attending the Indy conference. I've been to many conferences, and I always try to learn something at every conference. This week has been focused on electric vehicles primarily and charging systems, and because I write state school bus specifications, it's important that I know as much as I can about these items so that we can competently address them in our state specs book, as well as the NCST specifications that are coming out in next May. So I've learned a lot about charging stations, about the construction of electric buses, and operations in general. So I very much appreciate it. The trade show, I've seen the new players who are coming on the scene with electric vehicles, so I have a lot of questions for them, and it's been very helpful.
Dana Rosen, Sapphire ISD, Houston, Texas. I'm an Assistant Director of Student Safety and Support. And this conference was great for me. I'm actually new to the industry, so this is all a new experience. I would say the most important thing was the idea of meeting a lot of new people. Like I met people from all over the place, and it's always fun to get together and realize that your problems are my problems, but sometimes when you start talking about them, you come up with really great solutions. And so I had a great time just processing through, how many do you have? How many do I have? What do you guys use? What do I do? It was great. And I think that connection is what makes this whole department, it's just amazing. I love it.
Thanks everyone for listening. We had a great week here at STN EXPO Indy. We want to thank everyone for coming, and we're going to discuss an in-depth review at our next podcast, so stay tuned for that. The boys will be back with me, so it won't just be me, but thank you, Nation. We'll see you again next week.